Hello everybody, it's Hater. Welcome back to another Destiny 2 build video, and I want to do some a little fun today because we're going to be turning the Jotunn exotic toaster into a thermal reactor. Basically taking its new catalyst and kicking it up a notch with a build that is universal amongst all three classes. With it, we're going to be able to scorch enemies, cause a bunch of ignitions, create a whole bunch of elemental wells, and basically just nuke anything in our path. This is no stretch of the imagination a perfect endgame build. I don't really recommend bringing Jotunn into GM Nightfalls, but if you want to bring it into GMs after watching this video, then by all means, you have the tools to do so. But as for what the exotic toaster's catalyst does, it gives it both the cornered and incandescent trait intrinsically. Cornered is going to give it faster charge time whenever enemies are near you, so you're whipping more toaster shots left and right. Then the new perk that came with Season of the Haunted, Incandescent, is going to cause enemies to scorch around the targeted enemy you kill with this weapon. I've talked a lot about Incandescent in general on my channel, and I still think it's probably the best perk that came out of this entire season. Giving it to Jotunn's catalyst was definitely the right move by Bungie, and I wholeheartedly support it. As for the build though, in general, what we're going to be doing with the toaster is use it more as our foundation. The toaster is going to be our main mobbing tool, and we want to focus around that. We're going to be creating elemental wells with it, then we're going to be using those elemental wells to gain buffs like Font of Might or even Grenade Energy. Then in our subclass, we're going to utilize our melee ability to gain Radiant and stack 2 different damage buffs on it at the same time. Along with Incandescent proccing, we're also going to be creating a lot of Scorch stacks everywhere to possibly ignite enemies. Then later on, when I go into the armor, we'll talk about the artifact mods or even the possibility of not using artifact mods with this build. But for the subclass itself, this is pretty much universal. I'm using my Warlock as an example. The fragments are always going to stay the same. We're going to be using Ember of Torches so that we become radiant whenever we use our powered melee attack. This just means 25% more weapon damage while we have the buff active. Then we're going to pair it with Ember of Char. Our solar ignitions are going to spread scorch stacks to enemies nearby. This is going to synergize with our incandescent so that whenever we get kills with the toaster enough times, it ignites something, it'll then spread even more scorch stacks to make igniting more enemies easier. Then Ember of Ashes, we apply 50% more scorch stacks every time we apply scorch stacks. Just a useful fragment overall. And then Ember of Empyrean. Solar weapons or ability final blows are going to extend the duration of both restoration and radiant buffs affected to us. So if we ever use any restoration buff from Classy Restoration or the Titan with their Loreley Splendor Helm, you have a way to extend it on top of us extending radiant with the toaster whenever we get kills with it. For my Warlock personally, I'm using Icarus Dash just for the mobility and the extra cure whenever I'm in the air, and then Touch of Flame so that it enhances my grenades. I'm focusing on a grenade themed build with Verity's Brow, and we're going to be using it as an example moving forward. Titans and Hunters can definitely get the same result with this build. The first thing that comes to my mind for the Titan is Heart of Inmost Light, Loreley Splendor Helm, or even Ashen Wake. Hunters with their Young Amkara Spine will definitely take the most out of this build. I know Aztecross recently made a Jotunn build using Young Amkara Spine, so that is definitely the best option to look for if you want to use this build with your Hunter. But to start off for the armor and our energies, we're only going to need 3 armor pieces solar. That's about it. Starting off at my helmet, my Verity's Brow. Verity's Brow exotic perk, the 4th magic, is going to give us death throws whenever we get kills with weapons that match our subclass typing. In this case, we're using Jotunn in a solar subclass, so every time Jotunn gets kills, we stack up death throws. Death throws are going to give us constant grenade energy, and based on the amount of stacks of death throws that we have, up to 5, it will increase our grenade's damage. In it though, mine is the first armor piece that I have as solar. Since I am using a grenade focused build, I want it to be solar for Ashes to assets. I gain bonus super energy whenever I get kills with my grenades. Then for the mod at the very end, it's Bountiful Wells. What Bountiful Wells does is it will cause all of your well creating mods that you have currently equipped to create 1 extra elemental well mod based on how many are equipped. So in this case, I'm using Elemental Ordnance and Explosive Well Maker in this build. Both of those will create 2 elemental wells each instead of 1. If I do add extra on top of them, it'll create 3 instead of 2. And then if there's 3 mods equipped, 4 instead of 3. Harmonic Siphon is also the extra mod that I have equipped. Since I am matching my subclass typing with Jotunn, I might as well gain Orbs of Power at the same time. Moving on down to the arms, this is the second armor piece that I have as Solar. Again, the main purpose is for Explosive Wellmaker. Getting rapid kills with anything that is considered explosive damage is going to create a Solar Elemental Well. Our Ignition procs, our Jotunn blasts, our grenades, anything that is considered explosive damage will proc this mod. When it does proc, we'll gain a Solar Elemental Well, and we can use that as a resource. For the other mod, Impact Induction, causing damage with your melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. We're using our melee attack in this build to gain Ember of Torches, so might as well gain some free grenade energy at the same time. If you do plan on taking this build into any endgame content, Master, Legend, Nightfalls, anything in general, you have the option of taking this mod out and swapping it with any kind of artifact mod for champions. Moving on down to the chest piece, this is my neutral armor piece, but I like having it as arc so that I can use Armor of the Dying Star along with an arc resistance, so we take reduced damage from all 3 element typings at the exact same time. If this is your neutral armor piece and you don't want to use any kind of artifact mods in general, you just take it off and double up on any kind of melee damage resistance, sniper damage resistance, or even concussive dampener based on what activity you're bringing this build into. For the mod at the very end though, it is Elemental Ordnance. Like I said, this is a grenade focused build. Getting kills with our grenades is going to create a elemental well that will match our subclass typing. This is mostly here to just synergize with my build overall. Young Ahamkara's Spine Hunters and even the Titans can take advantage of this too, depending on your build. But again, all this is a way to create another resource. Bountiful Wells is going to double up on this, and we're going to gain 2 every time this procs. It'll also proc Explosive Wellmaker at the same time if there's enough kills, meaning 4 elemental wells are going to drop instead of 2. Moving on down to the boots now, this is where we're going to be using Font of Might. Font of Might is going to give us 25% more weapon damage to the weapons that match our subclass type every time we pick up a matching elemental well. It's a lot of words, but it's very simple. Pick up a well, in this case a solar well, it gives our Jotunn 25% more damage, stacking with the radiant buff. And if you decide to pair a heavy weapon with this too that is also solar, it'll gain the same benefits. This is really going to flesh out the entire build and allow Jotunn to add clear much easier in the long run. I'm also using some miscellaneous mods like Recuperation. This is just to synergize with my Harmonic Siphon. Picking up an Orb of Power gives me health. Since I'm not using Classy Restoration right now currently with the build, this is a great alternative. And I'm also using a Fusion Rifle Scavenger because I want to get as much Jotunn ammo as possible. Finally though, moving down to the class item, this is the third and final piece of armor I have as Solar. The main reason for that is Well of Ordnance. Picking up a Solar Elemental Well is going to give us even more grenade energy than we already gained from just picking up a matching Elemental Well. This is just going to skyrocket our already huge amount of grenade energy we're gaining and make sure that we always have a grenade ready when we need it. The other reason that I have this armor piece as Solar is because if I don't want to use artifact mods with this build. This was something that you guys asked in the comment section recently, and I wanted to include this kind of discussion in the video somehow, and I think this is the best way to do so, at least for this season. For this build in particular, if we don't plan on using artifact mods like Classy Restoration, Radiant Orbs, Withering Heat, etc., what I do recommend is 2 bomber mods. Even more grenade energy on top of grenade energy. You literally can't go wrong with it. If you don't like that though and you want more energy for other abilities, you can easily change it out for a distribution. However though, if we are using artifact mods, you have a lot of options with this build. My favorites that I can include are Molten Overload if you want to bring this build into endgame Law sectors or harder tier Nightfalls. This will make your grenades overload enemies, and then you can pair that with something like Revitalizing Blast if it's an overload champion. They'll immediately ignite on contact, or you can even use something like Withering Heat. Withering Heat will pair with this also. If you're using solar grenades, you just throw it on the enemy and they're debuffed from a global debuff. Of course, you have other options. You could play around with this, something like Solar Fulmination combined with Flame Harvesting, even more Solar Elemental Wells, and then more damage. I tried messing around with Rays of Precision, but Jotunn can't really land crits. And then of course you could even play around with Radiant Orbs so that you synergize with Harmonic Siphon and have Radiant much more often, but I feel Ember of Torches does that for you anyways. And then of course, the GOAT itself of this season, Classy Restoration. Either way though guys, I think that's going to be the build for today's video. I tried changing it up a little bit and added a bit more information to give you guys more options, or at least an idea of different options you could use in these builds. And let me know if you guys want to see something like this more in the future. Overall though, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to catch me live over at Twitch, I stream every single day at 7 p.m. Eastern playing more than just Destiny. I usually play things like Lost Ark with my guildmates, Monster Hunter, or anything that catches my eye. Remember, if you guys found this build helpful and you had a lot of fun using it, giving the video a like and subscribing is the best way to support the channel. As always, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm going to catch you in the next one. Bye bye.